It's been really interesting to see some of the workflows that vendors are building on top of Instance Insights, things like taking the instance detail page, which can give a deep dive into what's been happening with one customer instance recently and kind of everything about the current state, and linking that into their support workflows, into their customer care workflows, and into their kind of notification and alerting and on-call rotations even. So that's been kind of cool to see. And then, we published this adoption report with a couple key metrics that were just kind of like our guesses, my theories on like, hey, these things could evolve to be really good key metrics for on-prem software, for customer hosted software, and to see people take some of those visualizations and turn them into insights we didn't even expect, like using the adoption chart to help a product marketing or a marketing team understand the success of a campaign around the launch of a new version, and understanding how quickly new users are adopting that new version. So definitely been impressive and interesting to see how folks are taking some of these bits of data and turning them into new insights, new workflows, new feedback loops for teams beyond just the core development engineering team. Yeah, well, it's been really interesting to find, the people, as you might expect, the people that benefit the most from especially these higher level aggregate views of data are the ones who have large installed customer bases, people with 50, 100, 200 or more customers. And it's been really interesting to get to actually engage with not just the support leadership and engineering leadership who we're commonly in the room with, but we're getting plugged in with the analytics and analytics engineering teams. We're getting plugged in with sales and professional services, as we're able to give new and different types of insights about how the on-prem product is performing. Great question. Custom metrics, I'm super excited about. It's something that people have been asking us for a while, and has been sort of this blurry space. Basically, what we found was that beyond the things that we can do by default, which is like, is the app up or down? What version is it on? What's the infrastructure looking like? What's changed recently? What our vendors really want to know, what software vendors delivering into customer environments really want to know, is things about usage and scale. Is the customer using more? Are they using more workspaces, more builds, more projects, more active users? However they measure growth and usage, to either say, hey, look, that's a growing customer, we need to trigger an upsell motion, or hey, this customer's in trouble and we need to save because their usage has plateaued or is dropping. They have these early signals in their SaaS, and they're really suffering for not having it for their customer hosted software. So we wanted to deliver that same level of insight and that level of knowing how to respond and knowing where your blind spots are. And so we're really excited to roll that out for both COTS and the SDK. And essentially TLDR on the feature is most of the insights that everybody wants are the answer to the question is the result of a SQL query across some database running in the customer environment. That is, how many users were active in the last week, or how many workspaces have been created. So giving a framework to kind of generate data however you want, and then send it to the replicated in-cluster components on a regular interval, so that you can track those changes over time and understand how customer usage may be changing. The people who are using it are really excited about it, and I can't wait to see what else people do with it. I think that at its core, uptime, performance, these kind of metrics, they do roll up, and they are truly business metrics, especially in the context of, if you look at something like DevOps research assessments, DORA and Accelerate, and these kind of 4 key metrics, they're all about, half of them, change fail rate and time to recover. They're about reliability and uptime and these kinds of things. And I don't think it's as much about like shift focus away from performance and reliability and towards other metrics. I think our thesis here is really that when you deliver software into customer environments, you are sort of exploding the degenerate case of SaaS, where you have exactly one version running at any given time, to all these different instances with all these different states. And so there's just new signals that can be measured, things like adoption rate, and aggregate uptime, that give different pictures and different views into how your software is performing beyond just the ones that are applicable for SaaS, like uptime and time to recover and things like that. I mean, that's kind of been the hardest nut to crack for the customer hosted story in general, is air gap deployments. But the bottom line is, what we find is that for our software vendors, for our customers, their customers, the ones out of their customer base that want or require an air gap solution, tend to be the biggest and most secure and most strategic of their customers. And so we could be giving them insights for 80% of their customer base, and they're still flying blind with regard to the most important 20%. So we're working on I think it's an alpha now. So there's an option to sign up to be a design partner on this right now. We're going to continue rolling this towards beta and GA, but mechanisms to be able to get at least some insight around what's going on with air gapped instances by sort of downloading, anonymized data or diagnostic reports from an air gapped instance and uploading into Replicated's platform, so we can represent that data and those instances alongside in the same reports as all your online instance data. As a product team at Replicated, I think we are always striving to be more and more customer focused and understand the value we can give customers. And so, I mean, the key to prioritizing is, we build a bunch of prototypes. We go and talk with a bunch of different customers. We try to figure out which ones are the most valuable and which ones solve the broadest number of problems with a single sort of feature or report or metric. And then we go build that, and then we come back to the drawing board. I do find myself in the case sometimes of wanting to build things that people didn't quite know that they wanted. And so while we are very customer driven, we are also making a few bets on what else might the industry benefit from that is not being directly articulated to us by customers. I would look at where your pain points are and where your fires are, and then look at kind of all of the possible things you could measure. And there's, I mean, even on our kind of pie in the sky list, there's about 16 different things that we think are worth looking at. I would say pick one or two or maybe three to focus on for a month or even a quarter, and see if it helps align your team or not. Kind of be constantly figure out how to measure it, watch it, do retrospectives with your team. If it works, continue with it. If it's wrong, try another one. Deciding what to measure is generally harder than actually figuring out how to measure it. So it will probably take some iteration.